3.
A song for my father. My music memory reaches back into time to embrace songs, musical concepts, and structures I could not have possibly known if my temporary definitions of birth, date, place, and moment are to be believed. I have known some melodies, some harmonies, some structural forms instinctively before I heard the records, heard their tinny reproductions on the horn Victrolas and the vacuum-tubed radios of the late 40s and early 50s, knew them to be part and parcel of my body, etched upon my soul, resonating when proper tone, chord, or thought form sounded, thrilling through my system. These are no doubt the coded ciphers ensconced in the genes passed to me by my daddy, a prototypic blues shouter turned preacher, who in the turbulent second and third decades of the 20th century would ascend the dwarfish arboreal hills near Bassfield, Mississippi, to a place called Nigger Ridge each weekend to take his place among the local rural and itinerant troubadours. Under the stars, in a clearing stomped flat and smoothed by feet supporting the world weight of dancing black humanity, and with minimal accompaniment, an occasional fiddle or acoustic guitar, a banjo, a mouth organ or tin whistle, and some bones, would ejaculate in libidinal meter and vivid verse his gift to his loved ones, whose lucid, mournful, meaningful blues were his life poem. The folk up there called him Blue Jesus because he stood out and apart from other singers, most of whom were inspired by abundant moonshine and motivated by coins tossed into their hats at their feet, or for the favors granted free of charge or passed for small profit by the fresh or jaded women who frequented the Ridge every Friday and Saturday night. Daddy stood out, not because he was blue-black, over 6 feet tall, and wore a starched increased jumper, not because he was barrel-chested, built like a steamroller, for comfort, they said, not for speed, and cast a dense shadow, not because he wore his hair trimmed, skin scraping short at the ears, but cut in an oblique slant on the top, resembling at a distance a lowercase cursive R. No, what made him stand out more than his presence was his voice, an ultimate emotive vessel, shaping, containing his fluid, shape-shifting feelings, his visceral, instinctive, and sanguine response to his life. His voice, a thick black baritone caress, a subliminal narcotic, stimulating, depressing the frayed nerves of honest dirt farmers and sharecroppers, slicksters, gamblers and scoundrels, liberal wives, daring spinsters, and the other women who would come to forget or at least to numb the muscle aches of back-bending labor, the despair distilled from a life of exigency and flavored by racism, the pretense, fickle fortune, inconstancy, and loneliness left at the foot of the ridge, but waiting faithfully like old friends to accompany them home when the evening was over. His voice was a goad to those who came to lose themselves in the moonshine passed around in earthen jugs, in the occasional fights embellished by razor and pistol, in the loud, not too happy laughter, in the tomcat posturing of arrogant swains, in the weekend wantonness of soul-weary women. But that same voice was a comfort to those who came mainly to hear the country blues. He could holler like a mountain jack. He could moan like the wind in the trees. He could keep time by clapping his hands, the cadence syncopated with the echoes his lyrics made, bouncing off of surrounding hills and hearts, or making the slow, irregular patter of falling tears. He could shimmy like Sister Kate, his shoulders and hips a blur, fading in and out like a hummingbird's wings. He could bend over backwards, touching his heels with the back of his head, and come up slowly in a snakish torso poem without missing a word or a lick. He would be driven by his voice, by the forces focused therein to do anything to draw attention to that emptiness out of which his melody came, out of which his rhythm came, out of which his feelings came, out of which his words came, out of which his world came. That emptiness called compassion, which encompassed all self-absorbed black actors of his time, and the peculiar drama playing itself out in southern rural America. Daddy created space in his blues wherein a black man or a black woman could escape, wherein a black man or black woman could be made over if they so desired. A space that made black bittersweet, turned a nigger into something human, made the white man vulnerable, beatable, made hoodoo a charming necessity, even made bad luck the evidence of some luck. He created space in his blues, a space so empty it qualified as love. And as love creates out of nothing, Daddy recreated hard-hearted women, no good cheating men, stagger lees, hard-hearted Hannahs, spell-casting two heads, and badass suckers who would cut you if you stand still, shoot you if you run. He created female love objects of every shape and kind, heavy-hipped mamas, long-legged gals, blackberries, honeybees, and wing-spreading angels who could make a hog get up and leave his slop, make a lazy rooster crow for day, make a tomcat fight all night, or make a preacher bawl the jack. Out of nothing, he recreated a pleasantly distorting mirror into which those rustic local blacks could gaze, applaud themselves, laugh at their own dark comedy, or become resigned to inevitable tragedy. Regular musical therapy every Friday and Saturday night, until that fateful Tuesday morning when Blue Jesus, while scraping cotton in his daddy's Northwest field, met the real deal, the original Lord. And he, with his bludgeoning love, battered my daddy about the crown of his head, shocked him with his electrifying spirit down to the soles of his feet, knocking him senseless. And when he came to, Daddy was singing a new song.